Hi everybody, Catherine from Gamereactor here at Nordic Game 2016 in Malmö. We are talking about Through the Woods, a new upcoming game. And beside me I have Dan Wakefield, who is the sound designer and writer for the game. Can you tell me what is the game? What can the viewers expect?
Yeah. So it's Norwegian, it's a Norse horror game. You play as a mother whose son's been kidnapped by a character from Norse mythology called Old Eric, and he's been taken through this dark, scary forest, and your job is to find your kid and find out why this guy has taken your kid and why he takes many other kids, the reasons that he did behind why he does this.
So where have you found the inspiration for this game?
Everywhere, Scandinavia, all over Scandinavia. There's the game's full of Norwegian folk tales, especially Norse stories, Norwegian folklore, and the Norse mythology. The story of Ragnarok is all throughout the game. The people on the island that used to live on the scary islands, they're all sort of remnants left over from thousands of years ago when Ragnarok was like taking place. So there's tons of amazing and very creepy, gritty stories to draw on from Scandinavian sort of folklore in general.
So why have you chosen to base the game on this Norse mythology?
So it's very easy for us to do this because we're based in Oslo in Norway. We're all huge fans of the dark and strange, mysterious tales that come from Scandinavia in general. There's also like Norwegian artists who we're very inspired by. Kittelsen, for example, he does these very creepy, very weird nature paintings that have sort of you can almost see faces in trees that aren't there, and it's very creepy and strange. We're just inspired by the nature and sort of art and culture of Scandinavia and Norway as well.
So what kind of horror games have you drawn some inspiration from?
So certainly games like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, they're my two favorite games. They're definitely ones that we are inspired by. Also Amnesia a little bit, and to a certain extent, it's not a horror game maybe, but Gone Home is also a game that we sort of compare ourselves to a lot. You find lots of documents and wander around in this very atmospheric, interesting sort of place, I guess.
So how did you go about creating this whole creepy setting and playing on all the senses in a horror game?
Yeah, so of course it's super important in a horror game, especially when it's very dark and you don't see that much in the game usually. So all of our art is taken from photographs that we took in a forest in Norway called Sognsvann, which is a beautiful, beautiful place. So everything, all the stones, rocks, grass, tree textures, everything is all from photographs we took. And the sound design especially, which is my job. Everything's been recorded from scratch. And there's nothing that's taken from a sound library that I've bought except a couple of birds which are really, really hard to record. So all of the water, trees, leaves and grass, footsteps, everything has all been taken in the forest. Even some really cool thunder that I managed to record, which is really hard to do sometimes.
So you told me that all of the development team is kind of like horror fans.
Yeah.
What is a good horror to you, and how did you get that into the game?
Good horror, I guess that's kind of a hard question. I personally don't prefer out and out crazy scary horror games. Like some games are very stressful and not very pleasant to play, you know. So I personally prefer the more slower paced, atmospheric, tension based horror. So I really like games like Silent Hill, for example. That's more psychological. But I think horror games also they have to have ups and downs. I think it's very important to feel this tension and release. To you shouldn't feel terrified all the time. I think it's very good to feel safe and then to have to go back out into a dangerous place. And that's what we've done in this game too. There's some areas where we've made sure that you feel like you understand that when you're reading a document, you're not suddenly going to be pounced on by something. And that makes it very scary to get back outside into where it's dangerous again. So this lovely sort of up and down feeling of is what I think makes a good anxiety building horror game.
So how has the development been, and for how long have you been in development?
Development has been we started in January 2014, so it's a brand new year, 2.5 years so far. We come out in September. Development's been kind of interesting because we spent a long time developing our demo for GDC last year. We spent a really long time building this demo to make a really good vertical slice. So long that we had actually not built almost any of the rest of the game by the point. And we did a Kickstarter last year, and during the Kickstarter we scrapped everything that we'd done because we'd gotten so much better so quickly, I guess, during the first half of last year that we scrapped everything and started again in June. So the whole game has been built pretty much from the ground up again since June. So actually the game right now has only taken just about a year to create.
So can you tell me a little bit more about the story in the game and for how long the game takes to play?
So the game is around 6 hours long, depending on whether you want to explore a lot, which we hope that you do. We like people to go off the path and explore. We've made it so that there's lots of things to find, lots of items and sort of journals to find, so you enriching your own experience of our game world. The story itself it's very difficult for me to talk about it because there's lots of spoilers and they're quite early in the game, so as soon as you start talking about what's actually quite soon into the game, it gets into spoiler territory. But the story is you're at your summer cabin with your kid and you are having a nice time with him. You're a slightly flawed mother. You work too much and stay up too late, and he gets bored at the cabin, and you wake up in the morning and your son's gone. And you go outside in the fog and go down to the pier and you see this old man row him away in a boat, and you jump into the water and follow them and end up on this island that's not usually there. It's when you look out into the water, it's not usually there. It's so it comes from nowhere somehow. It's all real. It's not in her head or anything. But then you spend your whole game climbing this mountain in this foresty area, trying to find your son and his kidnapper and figure out why this guy has done what he's done.
So is there anything else you would like to add to make the players know about the game?
It's a third-person horror game, which is for us is super cool because so many games are first-person now. I think third-person adds something like your experience in this person's story. It's not you're not creating your own story in a way. You're sort of playing her story, which I think is an interesting way to do it. Since so many horror games now are first-person. If you are interested in Norse culture, Scandinavian culture at all, it's super cool to check out a game because it's full of everything. All kinds of folktale creatures. There's trolls in the game and all kinds of other creatures that I won't spoil, and tons of Norwegian stories. It's just very Scandinavian feeling and very Nordic, a very Nordic feel to the whole game.
So you said you were coming out in September. Is there a specific date?
No, we're very much hoping for September, but we don't have an actual date yet. I'm hoping mid-September.
We're looking forward to the launch, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Something terrible happened there, but a long time ago.